Half of South Africans don't have a retirement plan, according to the Southern Africa Labour and Development Research Unit. Many just don't have the extra funds for a fund. Rocco Zizzamia is a PhD student from the unit and joins us now to talk more about this. Rocco, very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time tonight. So let's put these numbers into context and why this is such a serious problem in the South African context.
Sure, great to be with you. So I should say that the Southern African Labour and Development Research Unit didn't author this report, but what I can speak about is other work that we've done which speaks to both the poverty that South Africans face and the ability to plan ahead for the future. So I think the first thing to get on the table when speaking about retirements in South Africa and people's ability to save for retirements is just the sheer number of South Africans who are destitute on a day-to-day basis, who can't make ends meet on a day-to-day basis, never mind plan for the future. So if 50 to 60% of South Africans are estimated to live on an amount which is below the poverty line, that's set at about 1,300 Rand per person per month. That's the level that statisticians estimate you need to meet your basic needs on a day-to-day basis. 50 to 60% of South Africans live below that level, meaning that they can't meet that amount of money on a day-to-day basis, meaning that speaking about retirements is just out of the question.
And what becomes of these people then, Rocco, when they do reach retirement age? Do they then look to a government pension to survive?
Exactly. So the government pension is currently set at around 1,800, 900 Rand. So if you think about the poverty line, which is 1,200, 300 Rand, the government pension is actually higher than the poverty line. Often, however, government pensions are shared and are a vital source of income for other family members. So people who rely on pensions often subsist at a level which is below poverty. But for the vast majority of poor South Africans who make do without any labor market income, reaching the age of 60 comes as an economic relief. And it's not something that they have to plan for. So other work that we've done myself and my colleague Simone Schott of the United Nations University and Murray Leibrand, the director of Soldier at UCT, what we've done is we've tried to understand. We've tried to split South Africa into social classes, and this might give us some sort of insight into thinking about who is it that could be planning for the future, could be putting money aside for a retirement plan, and who is it that can't. So 50% of the South African population is what we would call chronic poor. They're not only poor today, but they're also very unlikely to escape poverty tomorrow or a year from now or 2 years from now. About 25% of the population are on the border between being poor and not being poor. They might be above poverty at any particular point in time, but they're highly vulnerable to falling back into poverty, or if they're poor at a particular point in time, they're highly likely of escaping poverty, but only temporarily. So for these people as well, these people in the middle of the income distribution, the thought of planning ahead for a distant retirement is also out of the question. Who we're really thinking about is the 25% of South Africans who are not only not poor, but they are also unlikely to fall into poverty. And these we call the middle class. And it's really only the middle class that would sensibly be thinking about planning for retirement.
I'm wondering, Rocco, if then, since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic and the subsequent job losses, you've looked at how that could likely, I would imagine, worsen the picture.
Exactly. Yeah, that's an excellent question. So all of the research that I've just spoken about happened before the COVID-19 pandemic, before the massive job losses that we've seen and the descent into poverty for millions of South Africans. So we might think of COVID-19 as a massive coordinated shock which affected people across the income distribution. But in research myself and others at Soldier have done, we've discovered that it's affected those at the bottom of the income distribution disproportionately harshly relative to those at the top. So we might think of those in the middle class they've definitely been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, but because they had primarily formal jobs, better protected jobs, they were more likely to go into paid leave and then re-enter the labor market as the economy started reopening. What we found was for those people in the middle, the transient, what we call the transient poor and the vulnerable middle class, it's these people who experience an extremely tenuous attachment to the labor market, and a shock. In normal times, a shock might send them spiraling into poverty, and a massive coordinated shock, such as the COVID-19 pandemic, has likely wiped out a lot of the economic resources for those precarious people in the middle of the income distribution who are teetering on the brink of poverty before.
Final question then, Rocco, not related to finances. I suspect I butchered your surname. Do you mind just helping me out there?
Sure. My name is Rocco Zizzamia. It's an Italian name.
See, I knew that I had messed it up. Thank you so much for your time tonight. Rocco is with the Southern Africa Labour and Development Research Unit, speaking to us about retirement savings.